Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The date is November 7, 2022. The time is now 7 o'clock p.m. I will call the roll. Council President Ringstocker.
Here.
Councilmember Martin.
Here.
Councilmember Robertson.
Here.
Councilmember Boyer.
Here.
Councilmember Zinner. Councilmember Shenagas.
Here.
Thank you very much. We will go to item 3, Pledge Allegiance, and we'll do item 4, also opening prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, everyone. If I could ask you to kindly remain standing as I call forward Robin Stokes of Ames United Methodist Church. Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Can we just take a moment just to clear our minds and our hearts before we pray? You might want to take some deep breaths. It's been a long day. I don't know about you, and it's still not over. So let's just go to the throne of grace. First, Lord, we want to thank you for allowing us to be present today in this moment. We're honored that you called us to your service for us to serve others. We don't always get it right all the time, but you love us anyhow. Lord, we need you. We're in trying times. There is a lot of pain, anger, grief, illness, confusion, hatred, and division. Forgive us, we pray. You forgive us, so help us to forgive others, because none of us are perfect, and all has fallen short of your glory. Help us to know that in order to have mercy, we got to give mercy. Father, we come seeking your wisdom, strength, and guidance. We're in need of your healing and your peace. Keep within us a clean heart. We're also in a time of midterm elections. The right to vote came with a steep price for many. We don't know what tomorrow will bring, but we pray for soft hearts for us and our leaders. We pray that our leaders seek your guidance and your will and not personal agenda. Help us to understand that the highest power belongs to you. Give our leaders a listening ear that they can hear the cry of the needy and also hear from you. Let them stand in your righteousness and make decisions for the good of the people. Lord, we pray for justice. Give someone a righteous voice to speak for those who have no voice. We ask for protection for our leaders, that you put a hedge of protection around them and protect them and their families, that no weapon formed against them shall prosper. We ask that you call our leaders to a new level of civility, and that we pray for a new kind of collaboration where we all embrace cultural differences, then we'll find that we're more alike than we are different. We pray that you give them strength to lead and live by example and surround them in the love of God. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Pastor Stokes, thank you so much for your words. Thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to item number 5, the approval of the minutes from the City Council meeting of October 17th, 2022. Council, I have the motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Robertson, seconded by Councilmember Shenagas. Questions or comments on the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. City Council meeting minutes of October 17, 2022 are approved 5-0 in the affirmative. Item 6, comments from citizens. This is the part of tonight's meeting. If you wish to speak on an agenda item, now's the time to do so. And if you're also here because you wish to speak about any other issue of city business, now is the time to do so as well. Normally what we do is if anyone takes the time to fill out a form ahead of time, I will call on those citizens first. And then after that, I'll open up the floor at large if anyone wishes to speak. So I do have 2 forms. And the first form first person I'd like to call up, Chip Place. Good evening and welcome, sir. May you please have your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Chip Place, 301 Cigar Loop. I'm a fairly new resident up in Bully Rock.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members, staff. I'll be very quick because I can see from everybody's attire they have something else to do tonight. So, tonight I am here to just voice my support for the Baltimore Metropolitan Council's proposals to create new safe pedestrian and bike lanes on US 40. I think that's something that's much needed in the area. I think the safe pedestrian and bike infrastructure could use some work more generally in the city from my brief observations, especially crossing Route 40, getting from up the hill, as people say, into town. But this is certainly a great step by the Baltimore Metropolitan Council. And I believe, Tim, that public comments are due later this month. And so I urge...
28th. November 28th is the deadline.
Right. So I urge council to provide their comments in support of this initiative as well. Thank you very much.
Mr. Place, thank you.
And I know Councilmember Boyer's been all over this as well, too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
She's done a good job of keeping us informed.
I'd like to call forward Miss Lisa Belcher. Did I say your last name right?
I don't know. You know me for years. You should know my last name. Like a burp. It's like a burp. Belcher. So I don't like to speak in front of people, and I'm very stressed and very nervous about this. So please forgive me if I stutter, and I need to look at my paper because my mind wanders. But I felt passionate enough about the topic that I want to discuss, and it lays very heavy on my heart, and I just felt that I should come to talk about it because it's about the youth in our community, and someone needs to represent the youth. So good evening. Can you hear me? Yep. My name is Lisa Belcher, and I am a Havre Grace resident of over 20 years. I am also the vice president of the Parks and Rec Youth Basketball Program, and this is my 17th year of serving on the board. As you can tell, I look like a basketball player, right? 5'3", 2 3/4. I also have served on the Havre Grace Parks and Recreation Cheer Board for over 6 years and years ago, and I have coached and volunteered for Parks and Rec and other youth programs. For example, indoor soccer, outdoor soccer, penguin swim team, lacrosse, dance, volleyball, t-ball, and softball. I love the Warriors. I was not born here, but everything about the Warriors I love. So, go Warriors. My purpose for attending today's meeting is that I would like to bring attention to you, the city council, that the winter Parks and Recreation youth sports programs have started, and we are confronted with not having ample space. The Parks and Recreation youth program offers numerous activities to the youth ages maybe 4, maybe even younger, but 4 to including wrestling, indoor soccer, youth basketball, AAU basketball, indoor lacrosse, and cheerleading. Not having enough space impacts over 700 of our Havre Grace Parks and Recreation youth participants. Last year, being able to use the Star Center at a reasonable cost accommodated and met multiple Parks and Recreation youth programs' youth needs for gym space. The Havre Grace City did offer the Star Center gym for this season, but at a much higher cost, like this and this. The Havre Grace Parks and Recreation youth individual programs do not have the current requested figure within their individual budgets. The holidays are quickly approaching and everyone will start to take leave. So is there any way that this topic could be prioritized? I would like to thank you for allowing me to speak and represent the Havre Grace Parks and Rec youth programs in our community and our future homegrown stars. Thank you. Do we clap? Do I stand here? I don't know what to do now.
Any questions? Can I ask you a question, though? What role does Harford County Public Schools play, though? We have the 2 elementary schools and the middle school, high school. So those schools aren't providing enough space this year?
So we have the 5-6 clinic youth basketball is in Meadowville, and they go Monday through Friday, and they have 2 teams in there every night. The Havre Grace Elementary School houses the youth cheerleading program, and they have their squads in there Monday through Friday. Then the Parks and Rec youth basketball program uses the activity center and the Havre Grace Middle School. Now, the middle school is actually taking away 10 hours of practice effective November through February for their middle school teams that they're starting up. So we are going from usually 6 to 9 p.m. down to 7 to 9 p.m. And our program houses ages 5 to 14. So what are we going to do with 7 to 9 when we can't have the earlier spot at 6? And then wrestling actually did not have a home. They were actually going to fold because there was no spots for them. And then finally, the Havre Grace Middle School stood up and said that they would house them, but the problem is their mats are so large and the space that they were granted is so small that by the time they put the mats and the players and the parents, there's really no place for them to even stand or have a safe atmosphere, but that was it. But the Star Center would be perfect because the auxiliary gym, which now I believe the pickleball
court,
the pickleball people are using, but that area can house the mats that roll up out of the area, out of the way, and then it can lay out, and then the cheerleaders and the wrestlers can benefit from that area, and then the court can actually that would help the youth basketball program, the AAU program, the indoor lacrosse, and indoor soccer. So we have just Parks and Rec youth basketball has over 300 players. We have almost 320 players, 31 teams, and over 90 volunteers. The wrestling program has over 80 players. I don't know how they do I think it's by age group, and then they have a multiple amount of volunteers. Then you have your cheerleading program, which has grown enormously. So I think they've gone from 3 to 5 squads. So you talk about cheerleaders, parents, and then you have your indoor soccer, which I think has roughly 200 to 250 players, and they need to use all of the facilities. I don't know if I left anybody out. And AAU, actually, they have grown, and they've actually sent their players to the state last season. So they have 7 to 8 teams. So we're just busting out. And it's hard to do a sport when you're on half a court 1 time a week. So we have 2 teams on each court for 55 minutes once a week. And now we're approaching Thanksgiving. We've got voting, so the facilities are closed tomorrow. The facilities were closed tonight because the voters had to set up. And then we are losing Veterans Day. Thank you for anybody who has served. My father is a retired Army. God bless everybody. Thank you. And then we're losing, of course, Thanksgiving holiday. My birthday is November 24th on Thanksgiving, if anybody cares. And then we're losing Christmas. So it goes on and on. So really, then we're only playing on half a court, and then we have to have our players play full court when we play in the league, and they've never even played on full court because there's no space. So this is the worst that it's ever been. And so I'm just begging mercy. I don't know what else to do. So this is my 17th year, as I said. This is the largest we've ever been. We have never gone backwards. We've only grown every single year, and that is a testament to our coaches. And we have people who cannot wait to be in our program. So that, to me, is a success. Hi, Jason.
Hey. Is it all right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just have 4 quick questions.
4?
Yeah. Number 1 is, when you say reasonable price, what's a reasonable price?
Well, free would be great. So last year, what we did is we paid for the custodial fees, and I don't know what was communicated between Parks and Rec and the city last year. I just know that they took the custodial fees out of our line item. So I don't know, when you say what would be reasonable, I just know what is being quoted to us is not reasonable. So I probably would have to have time to think about that.
Okay.
But that's a good question.
Yeah, I assume that you guys have like a fee structure that you get from folks that are involved, so you could probably figure out what would be reasonable for you and your program.
Can I just respond to that? So speaking about that, because Parks and Rec, Havre Grace has the most cost-efficient fee structure, and we charge less than most areas, which enables a lot of children to be in the program. And what that helps is we're facing obesity, we're facing children on their phone devices, we're facing children running the street. The sports that we provides family structure, it provides activity, it provides what we talk about school, how are your classes, how are your grades, is everything okay? So it's not just a matter of picking up a basketball or a soccer ball. The picture is much bigger than that.
I gotcha. What time frame, like, what months
Yes.
does
So
the basketball run?
we all of the sports that I just told you about have already started, and we run from November through March.
Okay, November through March.
Yes.
And when are the games or matches? Are they during the week or on the weekends?
So the youth basketball games start January 8th. It's an 8-week season, and then they have a playoff, and then they have a championship. So it's potentially 10 weeks. So that starts January through March, that we would require Saturdays. And we understand that the facility may rent out to Aretha Franklin or whomever, and we may have to find alternative venues, but we would like to use it, of course, when it's available. The wrestling, I think, homes 2 or 3 conferences in Havre de Grace, and then they have away conferences. The cheerleading has competitions. I'm not sure if they actually use, I don't think they use, I don't know if they would want to, but I don't think they actually use our facilities for competition. But indoor sports, indoor soccer is every Sunday, and they start January through March as well. So we're talking potentially every day. And then basketball, youth basketball, and AAU basketball would use the facility from either 5 or 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock during the weekdays until we started games in January.
Okay. And last question, what's the current rental rate? I guess.
I don't know it off the top of my head. I have to look it up.
I have it.
So-
It was $750 a day, or $1,000 for Saturday, or $1,000 for Sunday, and then it was $350 a day for custodial fees. And then speaking to the city rep, they said that we could potentially do the cleaning and the custodial services ourselves, which would reduce the $350 daily custodial fees. So it averaged $60,000, it would be $60,000 for us, all of the programs, to use it from November through March, including weekends.
So as council knows, last year, when we were sort of transitioning the Star Center, both sides, so we gave rec the opportunity to be in there, I think, 3 or 4 months, practically every day, and some weekends, I think.
Yes, we
primarily.
actually rented it
Right.
from
So
January to March.
right. But, yeah, so whatever the custodial fees were, that's what they paid. So after this last winter, and of course during the budget cycle, we deal with the rec president and vice president, which is John Norvell and Louis Fillinger. And so these discussions and explanations, I don't know that you were in any of the meetings that I can recall, with city leadership. So they come in every year as part of the normal Parks and Rec. So they come in and we look at capital programs, their budget, and then also additional needs. So all those are factored in during the budget, our budget season. The Star Center has been marketed as part of what the city's next steps are. We do have rentals in there. I think Solvay's in there 2 or 3 days a week now, and there's other activities that are rented. Now, I don't remember what the conversations primarily Bambi had with Louis and Mr. Norvell. So the costs are part of the fee schedule of what the costs are. The commitment to make for a 3-month program for a specific time frame, Monday through Friday or what have you, that eliminates any chance that the city could generate any revenue. So it's really a kind of a catch-22. So the city's trying to operate the facility so that it can meet the carrying costs, part of the carrying costs, and so we're renting it out to different organizations which are directly in competition of what you're trying to do. So there's got to be some happy medium there, but to consider a 3-month no rental or next to no rental, 5 days a week or 6 days a week is a pretty big ask.
So may I ask how much the pickleball group pays? Because they're in there 7 days a week.
So right now, the pickleball's open as long as the gym's not being rented. So we close it down 3 days here, 5 days there. It's closed coming up for a couple of the events. So the understanding with that group is it's open. People can use it, but there's no set schedule. We can shut it down at any time.
And how much do they pay?
They're paying nothing at this point. So we could offer to the Parks and Rec a similar deal where, hey, if there's no one in there, you pay the custodial fees, but if we get a paying customer, then what do you do with your program? Right.
And we understand that. And so would we have to pay custodial fees if the pickleball doesn't have to pay the custodial fees?
Likely, yes, because the pickleball, there's two different things here. Pickleball's not using the interior restrooms, they're just using that specific area. They're
Understood.
maintaining it themselves.
Understood.
So you would have a much larger area, but I think this conversation likely should happen with, no disrespect, but with Louis Fillinger and John Norvell, so that we can kind of figure out what the exact needs were. Those type of offers were on the table, but to Louis's point, if I'm going to have a program move forward, I have to have a house to put them in. And if you can't guarantee me those dates, that period of time, what do I do with the kids when if there's there's games that are coming up or practice sessions or what have you?
Well, I think it would be fine if we were given notice and then we could make other accommodations. So something, again, like you said, table it off, or however you say that.
So likely, like with the pickleball folks, there is no notice. So if somebody comes in today and wants to rent it for this weekend, they're out. If they come in and want to rent it today, then they're out. So that's sort of how that operation's working.
Okay.
Can someone,
Jason.
sorry, excuse me. Can you enlighten me, the Havre Grace Parks and Rec is actually a county thing, right?
So there's Harford County Parks and Rec,
Okay.
which supports recreation countywide. Each, like municipality, Aberdeen, we have, and Havre Grace, so we have our individual Parks and Rec. The only thing that the county Parks and Rec provides is support services and structures, like the community center over on Lewis Lane. So Parks and Rec owns that, and they lease some tenant space out, I think, Boys and Girls Club, that sort of thing. Parks and Rec does not contribute monetarily
Okay,
to
that was
Havre de
my-
Grace Rec. We do, I think, the city provides about $60,000 a year in rec support for programming, to supplement programming. So that's sort of what the city's contribution has been over the years. And then from time to time, I think we've done football helmets and some other specialty type things that come up that we add into the budget.
Yeah, I knew that, you know, they were, we have a line item for them, but I thought for some reason the county contributed. I'm curious to understand if that could ever be accomplished. I think that might help you guys with your
Yeah.
situation.
If I can just wrap this up, first of all, Lisa, I appreciate you being here tonight and advocating for the kids. Everyone on this council, you know, we always think of the children of our city, everything we do, whether it's our parks, playgrounds, you know, accessibility for all kind of kids. You know, but like I said, when we inherited the Star Center, and when I say the word inherited, it wasn't given to us. We had to ask for it for a while. There, you know, everyone knows the plans for the Star Center was that they were just going to tear down the whole complex, make it a grass field. $680,000 was in the budget to tear it down and just make it nothing but a grass field, not a parking lot, a grass field. So we believed in the city, the administration, the council, that that building had good bones and a purpose. You know, the auditorium had great acoustics, almost 1,000 seats. There was 2 auditoriums, gymnasiums. But also, I mean, you know, now that the dust has settled, we've owned it for about a year and a half now. You know, it's Hartford County was telling the truth when we asked the public schools, you know, how much does it cost to run the facility? It says almost $120,000 a year in heating and air conditioning alone. So let's just use simple math. That's $10,000 a month. If we were to give somebody 3 months almost free, that's almost a $30,000 contribution we would be making to the Parks and Rec. And when you think about it that way, I mean, not that you want to put a price on kids, but at the same time, we're trying to figure, like, if somebody wanted to come in, like a rec program, and pay us good money, I mean, we have to weigh those options at the same time. We're still trying to feel our way with this building. We know we're not going to make money on this building. I mean, we know it's going to be a cost at the end of the day for the taxpayer, but we think it has a purpose for the community. But we're also trying to the best we can self-fund the building. So again, we want to talk to Lewis, Fillinger, and John, and which we haven't actually talked to them yet about the season coming up, have we?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they were in during the budget cycle, and then as recently as a month and a half or so ago, when we were putting together some grant, we're going for some grant money in the state.
Perfect. So we're going to talk to Lewis and John. We take everything you said tonight, and that's going to come with us in our conversation with them. So now, you know, you brought the needs and awareness to us, and I thank you for being here this evening. So I don't want you to give up on us, but at the same time, we have a lot to weigh at the same time. You know what I mean? And, like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, geez, if we didn't take the building, if it's torn down, where would we be? You know what I mean? We'd be in a bad spot. So we're trying to figure out how we can use this building in the best way possible and for the kids of our community. So, like, again, I'm just going to say we're going to take your information, we're going to bring it to the table, and we're going to see what we can work out.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
Council President?
Do I walk away?
Lisa, I just want to,
Okay.
I want to commend you. I know how tough it is to find practice space. This is my 11th year being involved with the rec program, and there were many, many, many nights where I was out there with my own spotlights and generators in the baseball field to have football practice because we had nothing. And I want to ask you a question. I was really taken aback when Ms. Crawford mentioned that they're pushing a middle school sports program. How is that going to affect you guys?
It didn't affect us at all because we're actually, any student that's going to be playing for middle school could play for Parks and Rec as well. So we do have the dual playing, but like I said, we have the most registrants this year ever, and that's with the potential of the middle school. So it didn't affect us, other than they took away 10 hours of practice space.
Well, I support you, and I'm going to work with the mayor and chief administration and Lewis and John. I hope we can figure something out. I really
Me
do.
too. Okay.
Casey has something to say too.
That's fine.
Councilmember Boyer, good? Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Get your vote now.
That's it. Return the building down. Before we wrap up item 6, any other member of the audience wish to speak and address the council on an agenda item or a matter of city business? Okay, we will move on to item number 7. Is appointments. We have a couple appointments this evening. We have some Tourism Advisory Board appointments and some Youth Commission appointments, and we're going to start with 2 reappointments to the Tourism Advisory Board, and that's I'll send this to the liaison for that commission, Councilmember Martin.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. This time I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Kathy Keene and Jim Nemeth to the Tourism Advisory Board.
Second.
Council, I have a motion for the reappointment by Councilmember Martin for Ms. Kathy Keene and Mr. Jim Nemeth to the Tourism Advisory Board, and seconded by the Council President. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The reappointment of Ms. Kathy Keene and Mr. Jim Nemeth to the Tourism Advisory Board is carried 5-0 in the affirmative. Thank you very much, Council. 2 excellent people on our commission. Thank you. Item B, Youth Commission reappointments, and Councilmember Robertson's liaison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, fellow council members, I move to reappoint Ms. Alicia Henson and Tracy Robertson for the Youth Commission.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by Councilman Robertson, seconded by Councilmember Martin. Reappointment of Ms. Alicia Henson and Tracy Robertson. Questions or comments? Councilmember Robertson?
Well, you know, both these ladies have been with the commission since its founding. Alicia was really the driving force of why it came into fruition. My wife's been the driving force behind why it's still going. And, you know, I just want to say thank you to them for their service to our community, and thank you for their continued efforts. Volunteerism.
Thank you very much, Councilman Robertson. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The reappointment to the Youth Commission, Ms. Alicia Henson and Ms. Tracy Robertson, is approved 5-0 in the affirmative. Item 8, recognitions. This evening we have no recognitions. Item 9, proclamations. This evening we have no proclamations, which takes us to item 10, presentations, and we have 2 presentations, and we're double lucky tonight that they're both by the same person. I'd like to call forward Ms. Wanda Boker on a presentation for Sustainable Maryland Certification. Good evening.
Hello. I'm going to read my notes because I have a lot of details and I don't want to miss anything.
No problem.
The City of Havre Grace renewed 2 statewide certifications this year from Sustainable Maryland and Sustainable Communities of Maryland. Despite their similar names, they are distinct from one another, so I will try to describe why each is important to the city. Sustainable Maryland, part of the Sustainable States Network, is a certification program for municipalities run by the Environmental Finance Center at the University of Maryland and the Maryland Municipal League. City governments are certified by completing sustainable actions in 9 categories: community-based food systems, energy, greenhouse gas, health and wellness, local economies, natural resources, planning and land use, historic preservation, and transportation. The certification identifies cities as leaders in sustainable policy and increases our credibility as a city as we seek public investment and grant opportunities for strengthening our overall sustainability and resilience. Havre Grace received its first Sustainable Maryland certification in 2016 and was recertified in 2019 at the bronze level, with 150 points from 4 of the 9 categories in the application. This year, we not only recertified for another 3 years, but we were promoted to silver status with 460 points from 6 of the 9 categories. Some of the projects which helped us more than triple our points and reach silver status include the Water Street expansion of our Living Shoreline project, spearheaded by Tim Whitty and Stephanie Noya in our DPW department. The opening of the city's first food waste compost drop-off location at Hutchins Park, realized through a collaboration between city government and the city and the Havre de Grace Green Team. Our 2021 Bee City USA designation and our first year as a Bee City affiliate, made possible again through collaboration between the city government and the Havre de Grace Green Team. The city's 4 new electric trolleys, which offer clean public transportation throughout our arts and entertainment and historic districts, and our Maryland Energy Smart City project, launched this year to convert all municipal lighting to LED. This is a 5-year project for which we received our first grant this year, and to complete it, we will apply for funding through the Maryland Energy Agency each year through 2027. Havre de Grace is now one of only 10 municipalities in Maryland certified at the silver level. Our application included 40 sustainable actions in 6 different categories, realized by the city and our local NGOs, including the Havre de Grace Green Team as our primary partner, Citizens Against Trash, or the CAT Club, the Havre de Grace Arts Collective, the Havre de Grace Alliance, and the Havre de Grace Main Street Association. The second certification for the city this year is from Sustainable Communities of Maryland. Sustainable Communities of Maryland is a 5-year certification administered by the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. Havre de Grace received its first certification for Sustainable Communities of Maryland in 2012, was recertified in 2017, and again this year. Sustainable community areas are defined as places where public and private investments and partnerships achieve development of a healthy local economy, protection and appreciation of historical and cultural resources, a responsible mix of land use, affordable and sustainable housing and employment options, and growth and development practices that protect the environment and conserve air, water, and energy resources, encourage walkability and recreational opportunities. The Sustainable Community designation is a threshold requirement for application to state programs such as the Community Legacy and the Strategic Demolition Fund grants. The City of Havre de Grace is a multi-year Community Legacy Program grantee. The program provides our local government and community organizations with funding for small business retention, attraction, and rehabilitation. Business retention and attraction, home rehabilitation, and streetscape improvements. Our next applications for these certifications will be in 2025 for Sustainable Maryland and in 2027 for Sustainable Communities of Maryland. If there are questions, I'll do my best to respond.
Ms. Boker, thank you very much. So we're one of 10 silver recipients. Well, you know what my next question is going to be. Are there any gold cities?
There's no gold qualification. So as of now, silver is as high as you can get.
What would, I mean, out of curiosity, I mean, it must be like super duper, like hard to get gold. Like, you think that's something we could ever get, or silver's pretty darn good for us?
Well, they haven't come up with a gold yet.
Okay.
There's no gold class yet.
Not that I'm obsessed with like being number one. Like I'm, since they're the ones that came out with like bronze, and I'm just thinking like, I'm a teacher, so you're always thinking about rewards for kids, right? But I mean, I was just
silver was a real challenge. Like I said, we more than tripled our points from 150 to 460, and quite frankly, I think the standards will be higher every year we compete. Because the experts come up with more ways that we have to level up to be sustainable. But we did it this year, and we're ready to try again in 3 years. We've got 3 years to work hard, to do
good. Well, thank you. Thank you. Made me feel better since there's no gold out there. Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Boyer?
I have a great idea on how we can probably become at the top of it, and that is to expand the food waste recycling program to incorporate businesses and potentially encourage more walkability of our community by creating more sidewalks, or at least connecting sidewalks. So those two things. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're going to go to, thank you, Ms. Booker. Thank you. We're going to go to item 11, resolutions. This evening we have one resolution, and that's going to be for a license agreement. Councilmember Shenagus.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I move to introduce calendar resolution concerning a license agreement for a fence at 308 South Stokes Street.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Shenagus and a seconded by Councilmember Robertson. This is a resolution concerning a calendar license agreement. Questions or comments on the introduction? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed to it say nay. Motion to introduce a calendar resolution concerning a license agreement for 308 Stokes Street carries 5-0 in the affirmative. Madam Secretary, can you do me a favor and read the header into the record?
Yes, this will be Resolution 2022-30, a resolution by the Mayor and City Council of Havre de Grace, Maryland, pursuant to Sections 33 and 34 of the City Charter and the Local Government Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland for consideration of a license agreement for the installation of a fence within the right-of-way at 308 South Stokes Street along Fountain Street, and to authorize the mayor to execute such license.
Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, Council may I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2000, or resolution 2022-30.
So moved.
A motion by Councilmember Robertson. Do I have a second? Okay. Resolution 2022-30 does not get a second. So motion to pass calendar resolution 2022-30 fails. We're going to go to item number 12, ordinances. Item A, ordinance concerning amending Chapter 205 zoning, which pertains to accessory dwelling units. This is a second reading for 1086, and I'm going to hand that off to the chair of the Planning Committee. That's going to be Councilmember Shenagus.
I move to introduce ordinance number 1086 concerning amending Chapter 205 zoning as it pertains to accessory dwelling units in the second reading.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Shenagus to introduce ordinance 1086 on second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by the Council President. This is a motion to introduce 1086 on second reading. Question or comments on the introduction? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to introduce 1086 on second reading carries 5-0 in the affirmative. Madam Secretary, could you please read the header into the record one more time, please?
Yes. An ordinance by the Mayor and City Council of Havre de Grace, Maryland, adopted pursuant to the authority of Article 11-E of the Maryland Constitution, the Local Government Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and Sections 33 and 34 of the Havre de Grace City Charter, to amend Chapter 205 zoning as it pertains to accessory dwelling units.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. Council will have a motion to adopt 1086 on second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Martin, second by Councilmember Robertson, I believe. Did you? Okay.
It was him, and then
Oh, okay, I thought I heard both of them. Okay. Councilmember Martin and,
I'm just going to
Councilmember
electric
Boyd.
shock you anytime I say something.
I thought I heard two to my right. Sorry, I thought they both went at the same time. So Councilmember Martin made a motion, second by Councilmember Boyer. Okay, thank you. All right. Here we go. Motion by Councilman Martin, second by Councilman Boyer. Question or comments on 1086? Okay, council, we're going to do a roll call vote on 1086. Councilmember Boyer.
Yes.
Council President.
Yes.
Councilmember Shanegas.
Yes.
Councilmember Robertson.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
By roll call vote of 5-0 in the affirmative, City Council Ordinance 1086 is adopted and approved 5-0 in the affirmative on second reading. Thank you, council. Item B, Ordinance 1087 on second reading deals with amending Chapter 205 as it pertains to lot of record. And again, I'm going to hand this off to the chair of the Planning Committee, Councilmember Shanegas.
Mayor, council, I move to introduce ordinance number 1087 concerning amending Chapter 205 zoning as it pertains to lot of record in the second reading.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Shanegas, seconded by Councilmember Martin for the introduction of 1087 on second reading. Questions or comments on the introduction? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to introduce 1087 on second reading carries 5-0 in the affirmative. Madam Secretary, could you please read the header into the record?
An ordinance by the Mayor and City Council of Havre de Grace, Maryland, adopted pursuant to the authority of Article 11-E of the Maryland Constitution, the local government article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and Sections 33 and 34 of the Havre de Grace City Charter, to amend Chapter 205, zoning as it pertains to lot of record.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. Council, I have a motion to adopt 1087 on second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Martin, seconded by Councilmember Boyer. Questions or comments? Councilmember Shanegas.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt it according to some recommended amendments due to a meeting that we had with the Planning Commission. If I could read those. On line 40. Line 40, section 205, 3A, less than 8,000 square feet should be changed to lots less than 5,000 square feet or less than 10,000 square feet in the R1 zoning district.
Change 8,000 to 10,000?
Yes. No.
5,000 or 10,000 in the R1.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, gotcha.
Next, remove lines 46 through 48, section 205, 3A1 and A2, and replace with the following. Residential zoning district R1, residential. Lot coverage shall not exceed 40% of the total lot area for lots between than 5,999 square feet in area, and 60% for lots less than 50,000 square feet in total area. Setbacks cannot be less than required to meet city's adopted building code standards for fire safety and other safety standards. Second, residential zoning districts R2, residential, RO, residential office, and RB, residential business. Lot coverage shall not exceed 60,000 of the total lot area. Setbacks cannot be less than required to meet city-adopted building code standards for fire safety and other safety standards. And lastly, maximum building height requirements are not exempt.
Does any council members have copies of this ahead of time?
It should,
I did not.
yeah, it should be in the packet. Yeah.
It's in the bag.
Yeah, Mayor.
I just want to make sure
Yep.
council can see this in print, not auditory.
There it is. First page.
Okay.
Here I was writing it.
Thank you.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I see it. Then. Yours just looked a little different than what I had, sorry.
Okay.
So I have that as a motion. I'm gonna give the council a minute to look it over before I get a second on your motion.
Sounds
Okay,
great.
just-
Mayor,
Councilmember Boyer?
can we take a question on the amendments?
Right now, it's under a motion. I would need a second to discuss it,
Okay.
if it gets a second. I'm just letting everybody take a chance to read it and decide if they want a second.
Well, I'll second.
Okay, so Councilmember Robertson has seconded your motion, Councilmember Shenakis. So Councilmember Boyer, we're now under the question, so please proceed.
Can you please provide the explanation that goes with each of these amendments on why they are proposed and what they seek to fix?
The Planning Commission has met twice, and we've discussed some of the changes that would make it more easier for us to implement the plans with the upcoming building, et cetera, of properties in the future. I would like to hand it over to Tim Borsier for any further comment that could simplify the requests.
Sure. So the Planning Commission had a concern. It was the same concern that we had when we had first reading, and Alan Fair had came up and spoke, and he had mentioned that there were a lot of smaller lots in town, and he wanted to make sure that he wouldn't be penalized. But we want to make sure that we can continue to have infill on some of these smaller lots, but that there's a different standard than there was 40 years ago when they implemented zoning, and that some of those middle-sized lots can follow our requirements. So we're just trying to make sure that they have to follow requirements for lots of a certain size, but not lots that are too small. So we're still trying to balance encouraging infill while bringing into the fold these other properties that weren't part of the fold as part of the original zoning adoption, if that makes sense.
So this allows those nuanced lots to be developable, which under the legislation as originally proposed, they would not have been developable.
No, so any lot that was recorded before 1982, you didn't have to follow any of our lot specifications. You could have done whatever you want. So we wanted to make sure that all lots in the city had to follow the zoning rules and the lot specifications. But when doing that, there's just some lots that are too small that can't fit. So we continue to exempt those lots under 5,000 or under 10,000 in the R1. So we continue to exempt those lots while bringing in all those in that new range into the fold. So now lots between 5,000 and 999,000 square feet have to follow a certain set of rules, as she mentioned under 1A. And then the same thing under for R2, RO, and RB. So before it was less than 8,000, and now we've said less than 5,000. So that brings in lots between 5,000 and 8,000 square feet have to follow the zoning, and then we specified 10,000 in the R1 district. And then even in those, there's some certain rules that you have to follow depending on the zoning district, which are listed under number 1 and number 2.
Council President?
If I can just add a point of order and a correction. Under number 1, when you were reading it into the record, Ms. Shenakis, you said 50,000 square foot, it's 5,000 square foot. So I just want that correction to be on record.
Thank you.
Questions, comments? Okay. Councilmember Boyer?
Were these edits 100% endorsed by the committee? Or was
Yes.
there anybody who spoke against any of them?
They were 100% endorsed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
By which committee?
Planning.
Commission. Planning Commission.
Oh, commission. All right, thank you. I was going to say, I must have missed that either.
Yeah, Planning Commission. Okay. Councilmember Martin?
The only concern I have is this memorandum, short notice to everybody, November 1st is when it came out. Didn't, like you said, I didn't see I mean, I haven't had time to really look at it and try to judge from the dais at this point. I'd like, you know, like you said, I'd like to have time to be able to look at this and be able to talk to the planning department. I'd like to have time to be able to look at this. And I just feel there wasn't enough notice given to us on this one.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Shenanigans?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that we did meet twice, and the information has been put into the minutes, so it's been online. So I understand it. It seems like it's short notice, but we've been working on it for, 2 months, so.
Okay, thank you. Council President, would you like me to call the question, or is there any other further question or comment?
I think if we have more need of input or review from the council members, I make a motion that we table it for the next meeting.
Fair enough. All right, if anybody feels like they need more time.
Second.
Okay, I have a table motion on ordinance 1087 by the council president and seconded by Councilmember Martin. Under table motions, there's no discussion, just a straight up vote. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay. Motion to table 1087 on second reading carries 5-0 in the affirmative. All right? Okay. Thank you, Council. Okay, we're going to go to item C. We have an ordinance concerning amending chapter 120, or section 127-10. This is dealing with food trucks. This is going to be a first reading and introduction. This is one that's going to be handled by the council president.
Mr. Mayor, council, citizens all, I make a motion to introduce an ordinance concerning amending section 127-10, food truck requirements for first reading and introduction.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by the council president, seconded by Councilmember Martin. This is a motion to introduce on first reading an ordinance concerning food trucks. Questions or comments on the introduction? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Okay.
Motion to introduce an ordinance regarding food trucks on section 127-10 carries 4-1 in the affirmative. This is going to be resolution or ordinance 1090. Madam Secretary, please read into the record.
An ordinance by the Mayor and City Council of Havre de Grace, Maryland, adopted pursuant to the authority of Article 11-E of the Maryland Constitution, the local government article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and Sections 33 and 34 of the Havre de Grace City Charter, to amend Section 127-10, Food Truck Requirements of the City Code, Chapter 127, titled Peddling and Soliciting.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. Council, I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1090 on first reading.
So moved, but I will be offering an amendment.
Second.
Motion by the council president, seconded by Councilmember Robertson. Questions or comments? Council President.
All right, this is an effort from our planning department to clean up some language on food trucks and where they can be located. The legislation actually adds 2 more spots on Washington and Congress. And after discussion with administration, a few of the business owners and other citizens, man, I tell you that the feedback on that, putting 2 food trucks there, is really, really negative. So I can't support that going in at this time. So I make a motion to strike line 54C, where it says 2 spaces on the northeast corner of Washington Street and Congress Avenue. Remove that and correct the subsequent language for lettering D and E to read C and D.
Second.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
All right. So I make a motion to strike line 54, item C, 2 spaces on the northeast corner of Washington Street and Congress, and then correct the subsequent language to make D and E C and D.
Okay. So basically, you're striking
Striking C.
C. I got you.
Everything
A lot of
else
language.
moves up.
All right.
Say all that to say this.
I know, right?
I'm sorry. So I had a motion by the council president to strike line 54. Was there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Robertson. ACP, Councilmember Robertson. Question or comments on the council president's amendment? Councilmember Boyer.
I want to say thank you for doing that. That is something that I absolutely think is the right thing. I just came from, went down to DC, and in front of all of the absolutely beautiful museums, literally, it's like literally bumper to bumper were all of these food trucks, and all I could think of is how horrible that looked and how it prevented you from being able to see anything pretty on the other side of the street, or even just allowing people to cross. And I really don't want us to go down that path. So having it on these, on Washington Street, Washington Congress corridor, I think is absolutely ridiculous, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Boyer. Any other questions or comments? This is for Council President's amendment to strike line 54. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Council President's amendment to strike item 54 that reads 2 spaces on the northeast corner of Washington Street and Congress Avenue has been stricken and removed from this ordinance. We are back under the question. We had a motion by the Council President, second by Councilman Robertson, to approve ordinance 1090 on first reading. Any other questions or comments? This is for first reading. Okay, Council will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Robertson.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Council President.
Yes.
Councilmember Schnagus.
Yes.
Councilmember Boyer.
Yes.
By roll call vote of 5-0 in the affirmative, ordinance 1090 is approved on first reading. And the Council President, would you be okay to have a public hearing on this ordinance on November 21st?
I was going to suggest that.
Okay, there will be a public hearing on November 21st at 7 o'clock p.m. at the next regularly scheduled council meeting for a public hearing on ordinance 1090. We're going to go to item 13, old business. This evening we have no old business. Item 14, new business. We have several topics here. So first one's going to be, I'm going to hand this off to the Council President.
Mr. Mayor, Council, citizens, I move that the Havre de Grace City Council take a favorable position on proposed amendments to Section 22 of the Maryland Alcoholic Beverages Article, which, if passed, would, 1, permit an art establishment to sell beer and wine under certain conditions, and number 2, permit a performing arts establishment to sell beer, wine, and liquor under certain conditions.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by the Council President, and it's seconded by Councilman Robertson. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to carry, motion to approve Council President's recommendation that the council take a favorable position on the proposed amendments of Section 22 of the Maryland Alcoholic Beverages Article is approved 5-0 in the affirmative. Good. Item B, special events. We have 3, and I'm going to hand off to the Director of Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 3 special events this evening. Council, the first one up is the Winter Celtic Festival 2023. This special event application is only for the closure of the 700 block of Congress Avenue. The Celtic group is actually leasing the Star Center, which is under a separate agreement. This is just for the closure. The 700 block of Congress will be closed from 12 o'clock on the 13th. It'll reopen at 9 p.m. On the 15th. There's a on the street, there'll be food trucks, there'll be no alcohol sales outside on the street. Copy of the map is in your packet. And really, as far as the costs go, that's just for the DPW to prepare signage and barricades and so forth for the street closure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Gramatoria. Council have a motion to approve the Winter Celtic Festival 2023.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by the council president, second by Councilman Robertson. Questions or comments?
I will be recusing myself on this as I'm involved with the Winter Celtic Festival.
Okay, Councilmember Martin recuses himself. All right. Any other questions or comments?
Better hope this ain't a split vote.
Please don't do that. I'm kidding. Okay. All right. Winter Celtic Festival 2023. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Thank you.
Winter Celtic Festival 2023 scheduled for January 13th to 15th, 2023, 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock on 1/13, or January 13th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on January 14th and 15th at the Star Center. It's approved, 4-0 in the affirmative. Awesome. Okay, item number 2, Mr. Gramatoria.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next item, or event, is the 4th Annual Lockhouse Craft Beer and Wine Festival. This will be held up at the Lockhouse grounds. The sponsor is the Lockhouse Museum, Joanne Healy. The date is, for setup, will be 4/21 and 4/22, starting at 9 a.m. The event is from noon until 5 on the 22nd, and they'll break down at 7 p.m. It's a very, very popular event in the past. There'll be food trucks and alcohol served on the premises. The insurance certificate is attached, as is a map. Map's a little rough to read, but it's pretty much the same setup as, or it is the same setup as last time. And the costing sheet is attached as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Gramatoria. A motion by Councilman Robertson.
Oh, yes.
Second.
I had a feeling he would make the first motion. And second by Councilman Martin. Okay, this is for the 4th Annual Lockhouse Craft Beer and Wine Festival. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. 4th Annual Lockhouse Craft Beer and Wine Festival, scheduled for April 22nd, 2023 at the Lockhouse. It's approved, 5-0 in the affirmative. Mr. Gramatoria.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The last event application is from the Mayor's Arts Commission. It's for concerts in the park. The concerts will be through the month of June and July. Same location, same everything that we're used to. Janet Carrick is the sponsor. She's a member, long-standing member of the Arts Commission. They have most of the bands already under contract, or ready to go under contract with your approval, so that they can get them set up for the 2 months coming up. In addition, the costing sheets in the back of your packet, no area map, although it's around the gazebo at Tidings Park as usual. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Gramatoria. Council, I have a motion to approve concerts in the park.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Councilman Martin, second by Councilman Boyer.
No, that was Schnick's.
Was it? Who was it? It was you, right? I was right the first time. All right, come on, man.
We need one of those lights like on Jeopardy where you actually light up where you actually the person who suggested it. Yeah.
So I'm learning. As soon as I ask for a motion, I look left immediately, so. All right, okay. I have a motion by Councilman Martin, seconded by Councilman Boyer. This is for concerts in the park. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Concerts in the park for June 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd, 30th, July 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th of 2023. It's approved, 5-0 affirmative. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Council. We're moving into the Director's Report, and we're going to start with Director Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be very brief. I just would like to congratulate the Economic Development Department, and especially Wanda Boker for her work with the sustainability, going from bronze to silver, and also the sustainable communities. And Mrs. Boker has worked on a number of projects, grant projects here in the city, and she makes the process, a very cumbersome process, very easy, especially for the administration. So thank you for that. I'd also like to thank Mr. Nick Galero, who's on our Board of Elections Committee here in the city. He's also responsible for the elections here from the county, and he's over at the Star Center as we speak. That's one of the polling places for tomorrow. And he's taken that group to a whole new level and made that process seamless to the city. So it's really worked out well. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. Thank you very much, sir. We're going to go to Mr. Tim Boissier, Director of Planning. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everybody. We have our October permit numbers in. We have one new construction project on Alliance Street. There were 10 renovations and 25 others, which include decks, fences, solar panels, that sort of thing. Again, as new construction is slowed, but renovations and things continue to hold strong. We have 4 new construction projects, or new construction permits this year, in this fiscal year so far. One is in Bully Rock, and 3 of those are in the center and in some of these infill places that we've discussed where we're changing the ordinance. So things are still moving forward, even though construction is slowed. Mr. Place, who's in the audience today, mentioned the Baltimore Metropolitan Council, our metropolitan planning organization. They're working on the public input portion of a bicycle and pedestrian plan to run from the Aberdeen train station to Erie Street here in Havre de Grace. I've set up appointments with Casey's group, who does Safe Streets, to present to them what's going on. But just so the public knows, this is the public input period. There's a website, publicinput.com/US40BikePed. So that's /US40 BIKEPED. You can go on and see what they've proposed for the eastbound and westbound sides of US 40. You can see the specifications. They have the first input meeting. It's about an hour long. That video is available, and there's an opportunity to leave information for the public on that website. So if anybody's interested, they should go to that website and check it out. If you see a younger gentleman walking around the office that you don't recognize, we have a new planner. We hired Eric Lawrence. He's spent a lot of time in the Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland area. He currently lives in about 25 minutes away in Pennsylvania. He has a master's degree from Iowa State in planning and landscape architecture. He's new. He'll have a lot to learn and learn about the city, but I think bringing in somebody with that level of education and maybe seeing things from a different perspective will be really, really great for the city and our group in general. He comes with a lot of energy, and he's really interested in everything we're working on. He'll be helping out Diane with the comprehensive plan. He's already worked with Marissa today to learn our permitting process. He'll be one morning a week with Colleen at the front counter working with customers. So we're giving him a little bit of everything. So hopefully you'll see some more of him. Make sure you say hi to Eric in the hallway if you see him. And one last reminder, we're still working on the comprehensive plan and taking input on that. So if you go to Google and type in Vision HDG, you can continue to leave input. We've started to get some interesting input that I'll provide in the packets for all of you next week, just to kind of see what's going on. We've received responses mostly on that first story maps page that said Envision Havre de Grace, but we've received other stuff on transportation, water resources, on a lot of other things, and really, really good substantive comments. So anyone who is interested in that process should go on and check that out. And monthly now, on the second Monday of the month, excluding December for the holidays, the Planning Commission will be meeting to discuss the comprehensive plan. And those are public meetings. Anyone who's interested can join and give their input, listen in, do whatever they want to do. So we hope to see people stay involved with the comprehensive plan process. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim. Appreciate it. We're going to go to Ms. Bridget Johnson, Director of Economic Development and Tourism. Good evening, Ms. Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and citizens at home. I have one comment for tonight. Thank you, Council and Mayor, for allowing Wanda Boker, who is a part of my department, to give that presentation tonight. The Sustainable Maryland and the Sustainable Communities Maryland recertification is a big deal for the city of Havre de Grace. So I'm just excited. She has done great work for the city, and I wanted to say specifically to our mayor, we intend to create a gold category. We were talking about this the other day because I asked the same thing. I was like, what does it take to get to gold? And like, they haven't created it yet. So I felt cheated with that whole experience. So, but some of the projects and grant opportunities that we are looking at in the future, one, we are ordering our shuttle bus within the next day or two. So that'll help with getting the extra additional points in the future. We talked about the addition of trolleys, and we are looking at potential grants for as our fleet of vehicles to include the police department. This is, a big deal. Age out or retire, that we replace those with electric vehicles. That'll take a lot of grant money, I know. So anyway, we are continuing down this sustainability field. If anyone has any questions, thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. Go for the goal. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Doherty, Director of Finance.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, citizen here, and citizens at large. The current status of the major funds in the city's funds are as follows. The general fund is sitting with a fund balance of just over $7.9 million, which is about $400,000 ahead of budget expectations. Revenues for the year have been at about $15.65 million, which exceeded the budget by about $300,000, but $365,000 of it can be attributed that we started the year a little higher than we thought we would have by $365,000. So we're really right on line with revenues. Expenses were running at about $7.7 million, which is about $100,000 less than what we expected, but it's pretty much, again, right on line. So the fund is operating slightly ahead of expectations. The Water and Sewer Fund, the fund balance is currently sitting at a little over $1.8 million, which is about $500,000 below where we thought we would be. Revenues were at $5.8 million, where we thought they'd be at about $6.5. We're below by about $750,000, most of which, as Tim just mentioned, we are running much slower than we thought in capital cost recovery fees, almost to the tune of $585,000. The rest of it is due to timing, as expenses were at just over $3.9 million, which were $200,000 lower than what we thought we'd be, and capital projects, which were bond funded, make up 160 of that. So that also affects the revenues because that would have been reimbursed. The Marina Fund 8 is sitting at a fund balance of just over $1 million, which exceeds budget by about $115,000. Revenues are at $1.3 million, ahead of budget by $50,000, of which $40,000 is fuel sales for the year. And expenses are at $260,000 plus, which is below budget by $65,000, again attributed to the fact that we buy fuel in bulk and we haven't, and it's a timing thing which we will catch up on with the next big bulk purchase. So that's the current status. Everything seems to be running pretty much as the budget anticipated, and I don't see anything tremendously out of the ordinary that I would be concerned enough to tell you. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Council, any questions? George, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor,
sir.
Council.
Good evening, Mr. Merlizer, the Director of Public Works.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, Council President, Council members. Try to be quick so you can get that Ravens game. If you're driving down Union and Green, you'll notice some steel plates in the ground. Those are for a valve replacement that's coming up. That'll take place tomorrow. On the top, it'll be paved shortly thereafter. So on the topic of paving, Lodge Lane, North Stokes, Pennington, Green Street, Union, and some of the downtown district have fresh, clean, smooth pavement, nice finish, and some restriping will follow. So there'll be some traffic down just to be advised in those areas coming up. Next topic, as mentioned, city sidewalks, so some good news. We've awarded the contract for the Harrisfield to Warren area. It'll be good to improve that accessibility and walkability, as mentioned in some of the meetings earlier. Halloween decor is down. Now some of the Christmas and winter decorations are up, so we're looking forward to doing those as a DPW group. This previous David Craig, Sergeant Hilton, prep work, site work that we were talking about. It was a very successful event, so I'd like to comment on that. Just being Veterans Day around the corner, there was no public forum to really comment on the guys, so bear with me. I just want to announce some of their names in case some of their family members are listening. I'd like to give a shout out to John Allen, Roger Moore, Nick Muzaka, Steve Carlton, Tony Cochran, Zach Patterson, Joe Conaway, Mike Shipley, Mike Reimel, Mike Newsom, Dave McLaughlin, and Ethan Crone. So these events go by, and I just want to make sure these guys are recognized in a public forum and be an advocate for them. Lastly, as many of you know, I've commented Mr. Zach Patterson. I want to give him a proper send-off. So this will be one of his last weeks coming up here. He's helped me out tremendously taking this position. As a director, having him as my operational specialist, many of you know that his title includes much more than that. He's helped many people in different departments. So just want to recognize him and his special ability to help me as he transitioned. So he's getting a new job with a hefty pay raise at APG. So I'd like to wish him farewell. So he'll be missed. Thank you. I'd like to open up for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much for your report. And thank you for recognizing the DPW crew. They did a hell of a job.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Chief. What's happening?
Nothing much, Mayor. Not a thing. No, I actually also have to congratulate and recognize a couple, actually 4 of our officers, 2 of them being canine handlers and 2 of them being canines. Our officers, Corporal Jeremy Latham and Canine Icar, and Patrolman First Class Brian Adams and Canine Kira, they have done something that is pretty remarkable. They have received international certification for canines through the International Police Working Dog Association. So they received dual certification in narcotics and also patrol work. It's a very difficult process. It's been about this time last year they received the certification in narcotics, and then on November the 4th they received their certification in patrol work. And they do a lot of testing. The assessors for the International Police Working Dog Association said that they were 2 of the best dog teams that they have ever seen. And what makes this really important is that this association set the standards for canine teams worldwide. So this isn't just a local, a state certification or a national, this is an international certification. So those 2 teams are phenomenal, they're really good. And we also recognize them this year in the second quarter for all the work that those 2 canine officers do, as well as their dogs. So I really thought that was important to let our citizens know about that. The only other thing that I want to say is this Friday is Veterans Day. So I do want to thank all of those folks that are veterans, past veterans, current veterans, and I also want to recognize and thank all of the veterans that are in my police department, our police department, and all of our city employees and council members that are also veterans as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate the update. We're going to go to item 16, business from the mayor's office. I'll be brief, but I do want to tell my citizens tuning into this, if you haven't had a chance to do so, please drive by to David Craig Park and check out a beautiful monument that was dedicated this past Friday to Alfred Hilton. Alfred Hilton is a Hartford County native, grew up just outside of Havre, Grace, born in 1842, and he enlisted to fight in the American Civil War with the United States Colored Troop 4th Regiment, and he served in several distinguished battles, including Cold Harbor, but on September 29th, 1862, he saw his last battle at the Battle of Chafin Farm, just outside of Richmond. For his actions on that day, he received the Congressional Medal of Honor, the only citizen from Harford County ever to receive that distinguished award. He took a fatal wound because he picked up the colors that fell to the ground and tried to rally the soldiers behind him and received his wound. So about 5 years ago, there was a foundation formed, Alfred Hilton Foundation was formed to raise funds for this monument, secure location. And we were honored that because Alfred Hilton grew up just outside of Havre de Grace, we were honored that the foundation wanted to put the memorial in Havre de Grace. And it was a effort between the city and the committee members. Especially, I want to thank Mr. Gamatori, who worked with them countless times, going place to place and trying to find out the final spot to place this beautiful monument, as well as logistics that needed to be worked out. Some engineering, a lot of prep work, a lot of groundwork. Again, thank you to EJ and Tim Whitty and a lot of the DPW crew. So the final dedication was this past Friday down at David Craig Park, and it looks the monument itself is taken in its template from the Gold Star Memorial, but it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's breathtaking. You can sit there and look at it all day long. There's so much story on the back of it. Beautiful images. Again, we are honored to have Alfred Hilton's monument in our city. It says a lot about the character of our community, character of our county, the history of our county. There's a lot of messages you can take away from that monument. So, given just the brevity of the time tonight, I just want to tell my citizens, please take a trip to David Craig Park and check it out. That's all you need to know. But there will be, the monument will be receiving some lighting, which will be installed. So all the flags, the monument, everything will look absolutely beautiful, and looking forward to seeing that. Elections day tomorrow, don't forget to vote. I'll just leave it at that. And I got some comments on that. I'll save it for the next meeting. But also, Friday is Veterans Day, and there's no Reef Lane at Tidings Park or Angel Hill. That's only on Memorial Day now. But there is a Veterans Day parade, and I'm going to leave that to Councilmember or Councilmember Robertson to let everybody know the details of it. He's very instrumental in this parade. And with that said, hey, thank you very much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you at the next council meeting. We're going to start with comments from council members. Councilmember Boyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody in the audience and everybody seated here. I like everyone's purple. We're going to have to work on some people. But just real quick, I want to talk about, thank you very much, Mr. Place, for coming and speaking about, in support of the Baltimore Metropolitan Council's recommendations. So it was a very interesting public comment. It's a process. You know, the decision is not made now. There's still a process, and there's funding, et cetera, to go on. But there are 3 options being proposed. Basically, a lane that would be separate from Route 40, spaced away from Route 40. I think it was between, for the most part, 10 feet away from Route 40 on either side, either on the north side of Route 40 or on the south side of Route 40. And then there's the third option is a combination of the two, but halfway on the south side and the other half to the north side. It's very interesting. I think there's lots of opportunities. I think it would be great opportunities for people within Havre de Grace to be able to be better connected, especially those of us who live in the Bully Rock area, to be able to have a connection where you could ride your bikes into town, or people who are walking between the Weiss to down into town to have a safe walkway. All of it is wonderful, but there are perspectives that we have as people who live in Havre de Grace that people in Baltimore City or Baltimore County who are making these decisions just don't get. Things like, oh, that's where our grocery store is, or we know that there are a lot of people who are mobility scooters that cross over the intersection at Lewis, and they barely get all the way across. Most times they get stuck in the middle. Can we fix that? Those are the kinds of things that we need the community to provide input into, because by doing so, it'll make sure that whatever's decided upon will be the best. And if additional funding needs to be put into place, if other projects need to be taken care of, for example, the crazy intersection down at Ohio, Estego, and 40, you know, everybody knows that intersection, then that'll help push it along. So it's really important for people in our community to step up and provide your input to it. I want to encourage you all, if you want to learn more about it, please come to the Street and Traffic Safety Commission meeting on the 28th of November. Tim is going to do a presentation for us, and you'll be able to get a little bit more information about it. I think it's a great thing for us. It's not going to solve all of our problems, but it'll get us closer to a solution, or at least provide access, better access for everybody within our community. I can tell you, I drive home every day from Aberdeen Proving Ground, and there's a gentleman who jogs every day on Route 40, and I'm scared for his life because it's just the amount of people going 70 miles per hour. It's just a little too close. I also know for a fact that my neighbors 2 doors down have friends, boys from Aberdeen, who ride their bikes. Teenagers, I mean, I guess they're 15 years old now, ride their bikes on Route 40 to go see their friends in Havre de Grace, and they choose to ride their bikes around Havre de Grace because our streets are safer for them to ride the bikes on. They don't get jumped. So this is already happening. There is a need. There are people who will use it. We need our feedback into this council in order to make sure that it's something that is going to be beneficial for our community for years to come. I want to also take this moment to say that anybody who did not have a chance to go to the unveiling of the memorial really missed a really great speech by our mayor. Your remarks were so eloquent and so timely and just right that I was so proud to listen to you speak. It was just wonderful, and I really appreciate that. I wish, hopefully somebody captured it on video, because it was definitely something that should be preserved. And then finally, I want to say, reminding everybody that the election is tomorrow. The day after, we're all Marylanders. We all come together, and it doesn't matter what party you're on. It doesn't matter what political viewpoint you have. None of that really matters. What matters the day after is that we all work together and get things done for our community. There are 4 polling locations in Havre de Grace. I think it's a little overkill, but it's there. You can look up online to find out where your polling location is. It's either Havre de Grace High School in the new gym, the old gym, now the Star Center, Havre de Grace Elementary School, and Meadowvale. Those are the 4 locations. I believe there are some people who live probably a little further out that they would vote in Level. Hopefully in the future we can narrow down the amount of polling locations, because I think that deeply impacts the amount of people who volunteer to be poll watchers. It's a very long day for them, so when you go vote, please let them know that you appreciate their time, because they will be showing up tomorrow around, I believe, 5 o'clock in the morning and staying until 9 o'clock that night. And that's it. Take care. God bless our country.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Boyer. Thank you. Good evening, Councilmember Robertson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow council members, city staff, ladies and gentlemen here and at home. Quick reminder, Veterans Day parade is Friday at 2 p.m. It'll be kicking off at Hutchins Park and heading down Washington to St. John's, ending at the American Legion, where there will be a dinner shortly after the parade's end. So still time if you want to be involved in it. We're asking folks to meet at Hutchins Park between 1:30 and 1:40. To get lined up and all. It's rain or shine. So right now the forecast is calling for like 90% that it's going to rain, but we'll still be kicking off regardless. Also, I do want to give kudos to the Alfred B. Hilt Memorial Foundation and DPW for a great job with that unveiling and getting that thing set up. It's beautiful. I've seen folks going and checking it out every day this week, and I'm really spending time and reading it. If you haven't gotten a chance yet, go up there, read about his story. It's beautiful, beautiful memorial. And lastly, Teddy Roosevelt once said, "A vote is like a rifle. Its usefulness depends on the character of the user." So make sure that you use your vote, your right as an American citizen tomorrow. Somebody's going to be voted in and win regardless. Chances are, if you're watching this on a Monday night on YouTube live, you're probably one of those citizens that takes to heart that right. But regardless, it needs to be said. Good luck, Chief, one of our dear public servants here in Havre de Grace, and thank you for stepping up and running. And Mr. Mayor, that's it.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Robertson. Councilmember Shenagas.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Administration, and our citizens here and at home. Yes, it's true. We had a wonderful dedication this last Friday. It was amazing to be a part of it. It was just so awe-inspiring to see history come to life. So I highly recommend you go there, take a moment to reflect on where our nation has gained strength, and to all the citizens that have helped us advance to where we are today. As we go forward with our Marina Commission, we have been meeting the last 2 months to discuss our transition and progress over the last year, and we have come together to discuss the revenue and expenditures of the fiscal year that we just recently completed. I'm going to give a short report. Council has a full packet to read at their leisure, and we will reconvene and meet again for the citizens in February. So real quickly, the fiscal funds for 2022, the financial results. The Marina grew by $105,000 in fiscal 2022, slightly lower than the fiscal 2020. It is $382 more than planned growth reflected in the budget. The unanticipated delay in replacing the gasoline and diesel fuel tanks is a reason for this financial result. This $700,000 project was delayed by the supply chain issues. The Marina completed the $850,000 planned facility dredging and office building rehabilitation budgeted for the year. The dredging was financed mostly by a $825,000 Maryland Department of Natural Resource grant. The non-grant revenue for the year was $758,000, consisting primarily of slip contracts for $433,000, fuel sales for $235,000, and service fees of $90,000. The fueling operations result in a net gain of $50,000, while the remaining marina operations resulted in a net gain of $55,000. The Marina Fund ended fiscal 2022 with a net fund balance of $1,061,000. Of this amount, $879,000 is committed to the fiscal 2023 capital improvements fuel tank replacement project. Marina operations are budgeted to earn $44,000, resulting in an anticipated fund balance of $226,000 at the end of the fiscal year. We will be meeting in January on the 11th, January 23 at 4 p.m. here, and folks are invited to attend. We will be hoping to build our Marina Commission with inviting new members to sign up for a commission. If you're interested, please contact the mayor's office, and we will get an application out to you. We will meet and discuss further improvements and present that to the council in February. And with that said, I wish everybody the best tomorrow, Election Day. please exercise your right to vote. And I thank everyone for a really safe transition from Halloween into November and Thanksgiving. And we have a lot going on with our community projects and the Thanksgiving up the hill at the community center that's going to provide thousands of meals. And if you have some free time, please contact Fred Wills to get involved to volunteer. With that said, thank you. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Shenanigans. We're going to go to Councilmember Martin.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council President, Council, staff, and our lone citizen sitting here, and all those at home. I will keep it brief. Good luck tomorrow, Chief. Water and Sewer Commission will be meeting this Thursday here in the council chamber at 3 o'clock. And last but not least, council, thank you for approving the Celtic Festival parking or road closure. With that, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Martin. Good evening, Council President Ringside.
Mr. Mayor, council, citizens. First, I'd like to start by relaying gratitude from Councilwoman Zinner. So I'm doing the same thing the mayor was doing. Councilwoman Zinner, she did express her gratitude at the condolences and the well wishes on the loss of her husband. She's doing better, but she just decided she couldn't be here tonight. So please keep her in your prayers, and she'll be back. I'd like to discuss the voting down, or the lack of a vote, or the lack of a second on the fence license. So this is something we're struggling with a lot here in the city with administration. So we have, everybody has what they consider their property at their house and everything, and they want to build a fence. And a lot of times, people, what they consider their yard isn't their yard, so they want to expand upon city property, which belongs to the citizens. So we're trying to figure out a way to make it amicable to where these people can still expand, put the fence in, and the citizens still get something out of the deal. So we're working on that. It's not that we were specifically against this fence. We're holding back right now until we come up with a better plan and a way to proceed with this. A way that, again, benefits the citizens a little bit more than just giving away our free property. And I'd like to end this by, Grace on top, Havre Grace strong. It was a tough season for football this year for the Havre Grace High School. And, I've been a Redskins fan my entire life, and I can just say it's a rebuilding year. So I'm used to saying that. But JV did well. They finished 4-4, which is okay, and it's a little tougher for the JV guys if you think about it this way. As the season progresses and you have injuries and everything with varsity, some of your better players get moved up. So it's harder to have a winning record. They start off kind of bumpy, and then all of a sudden they ran the last several games of the season. And they did really well. Looking forward to the future of Havre Grace football. The rec teams, we had several of them that were in the playoffs. So, again, I am very active still with the rec program. I've been in the announcer's booth and everything. And I do fully support basketball and wrestling and the other programs, and hopefully finding a way that we can work something out to get you guys some space. But with that, Mr. Mayor, go Ravens tonight.
All right. Very likely.
Oh, wait, I would like to, also, Chief, go to bed, get some sleep, because you're going to need it. You're going to be tired, and I wish you the absolute best. Good luck, and I can't wait to pull the lever for you.
Before we wrap up, there's one thing I forgot to say. I just need one more minute. Thank you very much, Ms. Laird.
I had that written down.
Yeah, the Oyster Feast. Yeah, sorry about that. I got so wrapped up in keeping my comments brief. Anyway, I'm just messing with you. No, I forgot to write it down, but I did have the slides in there. So, ladies and gentlemen, the annual Great Havre Grace Oyster Feast is coming up Saturday, November 19th. It's always a Saturday before Thanksgiving. It's at the Star Center. The tickets are $75 a person, and you can purchase tickets by going online to Explore Havre Grace to buy tickets. Or you can go to the Visitor Center on Pennington Avenue and buy them in person. As a reminder, as in years past, when you buy a ticket to the Oyster Feast, $15 of each ticket goes to a participating nonprofit of your choice. If you buy them online, you can actually choose online, or if you buy them in the Visitor Center, you can just tell them where you want it to go. You can pay cash for them at the Visitor Center if you want to. And of course, online, you can purchase them there as well. So, so listen, the big deal about the oyster feast is if you like oysters and you love Chesapeake Bay oysters, and these are oysters from the Chesapeake Bay. I mean, they're not from, you know, New Orleans or North Carolina, they're from the Chesapeake Bay. It's all you can eat oysters. Raw oysters, stewed oysters, fried oysters, steamed oysters. I mean, I think you've broken the century mark a couple times, haven't you?
Oh, several times.
Yeah, over 100 oysters. So I'm telling you, like, if you like oysters,
The trick is to get the steamed ones because they're really small and they're easier to eat, but,
oh yeah, they'll give you a whole bucket of them. You just keep eating them over and over and over again. So I'm telling you, if you like oysters, it's a good deal. If you don't like oysters, it's still one heck of a good deal. I mean, it's carved round eye roast beef, very tender, turkey, ham, crab soup, oyster stew. Like I say, it's just so much food. You know, all you can drink beer and wine and sodas and things like that. It's a great event that supports our local nonprofits. They have to be participating nonprofits. All local nonprofits are asked to participate. So if they are participating, you'll find out when you go online to buy the ticket. But with that said, I do want to remind people, the last couple of years it sold out. So last year it sold out about a week before the event. So if you haven't gotten your ticket, get so now. And it's at the Star Center in the big auditorium. We hope to see you there at the Oyster Feast. With that said, Chief, God bless you and good luck. All right? You betcha. We'll be calling you delegate next time at the next council meeting. Okay. So good night, everybody. A motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Martin, motion. Council President seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay. 5-0 in the affirmative. Adjournment carries. The time is now 8:47. That'll do it. See you later, Bridget. Everybody have a good evening.